I never thought I'd point a loaded .38 at my own brother. But there I was, finger itching on the trigger, his smug grin mocking me from across the kitchen island like he'd already won. The bullet I'd chambered wasn't for him. Not yet, but for the lie we'd both buried 17 years ago. The one that chained me to silence while he built his empire on my ruins. "Pull it, Leah," he whispered, voice dripping honeyed venom. "And watch Mom and Dad's world burn with yours. That house in the hills." The one they handed him on a silver platter, $890,000 of brick and mortgage-free lies, sat like a crown on his head. Bought with blood money he swore I'd forget. But forgetting? That's for the weak. And I'd spent half my life playing the family scapegoat, the good daughter who swallowed the sins so he could shine. Now, with the revolver's cold kiss against my palm, I realized revenge wasn't about the shot. It was about reloading the truth, one shattered illusion at a time. What they didn't know, what none of them saw coming, was that I'd kept receipts. Not just paper trails, but the kind that clawed at your soul in the dead of night. Emails time-stamped from prison. Whispers from ghosts who'd trade their silence for a cut of the pie. I'd flipped the script all right, but not before they tried to gut me alive, circling my own home like vultures over roadkill, demanding I sign it away because family sticks together. Bullshit. Family? That's what wolves call their pack when they're circling for the kill. The rain hammered the roof of my craftsman bungalow in Portland like it had a personal grudge, turning the gutters into raging rivers that drowned out the hum of the city beyond. It was a Thursday in late October, the kind of gray-skied afternoon where the Pacific Northwest feels like it's auditioning for a noir film. I'd just poured my second black coffee, strong enough to strip paint, when the doorbell buzzed. Insistent and rude, like whoever was out there knew I was home and didn't give a damn about the no-soliciting sign I'd nailed up after the last Jehovah's Witness scare. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, glancing at the clock, 2:47 p.m. Mom and Dad weren't due for another hour, but something in my gut twisted. The old familiar knot that said trouble was knocking. Peeking through the peephole, I saw them anyway early, as always, because punctuality was their love language. Or so they claimed. Mom, bundled in that Burberry trench she'd bought on clearance in '09, clutching her knockoff Louis Vuitton like a shield. Dad, stoop-shouldered in his faded duck's hoodie, hands jammed in his pockets against the chill. And trailing behind, like the golden retriever he never was, my brother Ethan. 6'2" of Ivy League polish. His Armani slacks splattered with rain, but not a hair out of place. He flashed that toothpaste dad smile at the door, the one that had charmed juries and judges alike. Leah. Honey, Mom's voice trilled through the wood, all saccharine and forced, like she was greeting a long-lost sorority sister instead of her daughter. I unbolted the lock, swinging the door wide to let the damp Pacific air slap me in the face. "Come in before you freeze," I said, stepping aside, my voice flat as the overcast sky. They filed in, dripping on the welcome mat I'd woven myself during one of those self-care weekends therapists love to prescribe. Ethan hugged me first, too tight, too long, his cologne a cloying cloud of entitlement that made my eyes water. "Sis, place looks great. Still got that vintage vibe going." His eyes flicked over the exposed brick walls, the thrifted Eames chair by the fireplace, the shelves groaning under dog-eared copies of Atwood and Vonnegut. It was my sanctuary, this 1920s fixer-upper I'd poured every dime of my savings into after the divorce. 3 bedrooms, a backyard big enough for a garden that actually grew tomatoes, and a mortgage I paid down to the bone every month. It wasn't the McMansion Ethan lorded over in the Pearl District, but it was mine. Earned. Untainted. We settled in the living room, the fire crackling low because Dad insisted on real flames, not that gas nonsense. Mom perched on the edge of the couch, smoothing her skirt, while Dad sank into the armchair, already fishing his phone from his pocket to check stock tickers. Ethan sprawled like he owned the joint, one arm draped over the backrest, legs man-spreading into my space. So he started, that grin widening. Big news from our side of the family tree. I sipped my coffee, leaning against the mantel, waiting. I'd known this was coming since the email last week, vague pleasantries about estate planning and fair shares.
Fair. The word tasted like ash.
Mom jumped in, her voice pitching up an octave. Your father's folks, God rest their souls, left a tidy sum.
Leah.
And with Ethan's new venture capital gig, we thought it'd be best to consolidate.
Consolidate.
There it was, the corporate euphemism for screw you, kiddo. Dad nodded, not looking up from his screen. Ethan's house closed last month. $890,000. No contingencies. Clean as a whistle. Your Andy's place in Beaverton? It's valued around the same.
Give or take.
Thought you might consider trading up?
Or,
letting us handle the equity. My grip tightened on the mug. Auntie's place, technically mine now, after she'd passed in the spring, leaving it to the niece who never forgot my birthday. It was the bungalow we were sitting in, the one she'd willed to me because Ethan had been too busy climbing ladders to visit. And now they wanted it? For what? To pad his portfolio. I set the coffee down. Slow. Deliberate. Trading up to what? Your basement. Ethan chuckled. Low and patronizing. Come on.
Leah.
Don't be dramatic. It's not like we're asking for a kidney. Just a little family adjustment. Mom and Dad fronted my down payment, well, the whole thing. Technically, and with the market dipping, it'd be smart to pool resources. You could crash with us till you find something. Crash with them. In his $890,000 palace, where the walls were lined with abstract art he bought to impress venture bros, and the fridge stocked with organic kale smoothies. I'd sooner sleep in my Corolla. But I played it cool, because that's what survivalists do, nod,
Smile.
and sharpen the knife behind your back. And if I say no, the room went still, the fire popping like a warning shot. Mom's face crumpled, all performative hurt. Leah Marie, after everything we've done, your brother sacrificed so much for this family. Sacrificed. There it was, the first thread of the tapestry of lies they'd woven around me since I was 18. I could have spilled it then, the night of the party, the crash, the blood on the dashboard that wasn't mine. But I didn't. Instead, I laughed, sharp and brittle. Sacrificed? Like what? His liver spots from too much single malt. Ethan's eyes narrowed, just a flicker. But I caught it. The predator sensing the trap. Dad cleared his throat, finally pocketing the phone. It's not a request, sweetheart. We've got lawyers. The will your aunts had contingencies. Family consensus for the deed transfer.
Lies.
I'd read every line. Hired my own shark after the funeral. No such clause. But they were banking on my soft heart, the one that had covered for Ethan once before, when his recklessness nearly torched us all. That night, as they left with promises of sleeping on it, I locked the door and poured a bourbon, Maker's Mark.
Neat.
The burn a poor substitute for the rage boiling in my veins. Upstairs. In the guest room, I'd turned into an office. I booted up the old desktop. The one with the encrypted drive. Files upon files. Police reports redacted. Witness statements buried. Emails from Ethan's fixer, back in '07. The secret we'd chiseled into concrete. Me taking the fall for his DUI manslaughter. Pleading guilty to a lesser charge so he could walk into Stanford unscathed. I'd done it for family,
They said. For unity.
but unity's a one-way street when you're the mule carrying the load.
Now.
With their hands inching toward my home, my last bastion, I felt the chain snap. Revenge? It started as a whisper, but by midnight, it was a roar. I'd flipped the script,
All right.
starting with a call to an old contact, the kind who trades in shadows and subpoenas. The next morning, fog clung to the Willamette like a bad hangover, and I drove downtown, windows down, letting the mist soak my skin. Ethan's office loomed in the skyline, a glass tower for a firm that peddled disruptive tech to Silicon Valley wannabes. I parked in the garage, badge from my freelance graphic days still getting me past security. His assistant, a perky millennial named Tiff, waved me up. Mr. Hargrove's in a meeting, but he said to send me in. I cut her off, flashing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The elevator hummed, depositing me on the 22nd floor, where the air smelled of venture capital and broken dreams. Ethan's corner office overlooked the river. All sleek lines and motivational posters. Hustle harder. He was on the phone when I barged in, mid-pitch to some whale investor. But he hung up quick, that grin snapping back like a rubber band.
Leah?
To what do I owe that he stopped, clocking the manila envelope in my hand. Thicker than a Bible, stuffed with the ghosts we'd exorcised years ago. I tossed it on his desk, watching it skid across polished walnut. Read it. All of it. Then tell Mom and Dad why their golden boy's about to lose his luster. His face didn't crack, not fully. But the eyes? They went flat. Calculating. Blackmail. Sis? Classy. After all I've done for you. Done for me? The laugh bubbled up. Hysterical. He'd done nothing but take my college fund for his bail, my silence for his degree, my youth for his future. You mean after all I've done? I leaned in, voice a hiss. The plea deal? The community service I logged while you partied in Palo Alto? The therapy bills for nightmares that weren't mine? He stood then, towering. But I didn't flinch. Height's just an illusion when you've got the truth cocked and loaded. Water under the bridge, he murmured, circling the desk like a shark. You think dredging this up helps? Dad's got connections. Judges owe him favors from the firm. The law practice he'd inherited. The one that defended the little guy while burying scandals for the elite. I straightened, grabbing the envelope back. Try me. But here's the deal. Sign off on Andy's house. Walk away. Or I hit send on every copy to the DA. The press. You're bored. He paused, inches away, breath warm on my face. And if I don't, then family sticks together. I echoed his words from last night, twisting the knife. In hell. I left him there, stewing in his leather throne, and drove home with the radio blasting Springsteen, Born to Run, because irony's a bitch. But as the miles blurred, doubt crept in. Was this revenge? Or just trading one cage for another? Ethan's calls started at 4 p.m., 5 missed. Each more urgent. By 7. Mom's texts. What did you say to your brother? He's devastated. Devastated. Like the widow he'd orphaned hadn't been. That night, sleep evaded me, the house creaking like it knew secrets too. I paced the kitchen, bourbon bottle half empty, replaying the crash in my head. Senior prom. 07. Ethan buzzed on cheap tequila, swerving the family SUV into that minivan on I-5. The screech of metal, the silence after, her gone. Him unscathed but for a scratch. Please, Leah, he'd begged, blood on his knuckles. I'll make it right. He hadn't. I'd confessed to driving, claimed the booze, served 6 months in county while he prepped for interviews.
Now,
with their greed clawing at my door, I wondered, had I ever really been free? The phone buzzed. Ethan. I answered. Voice steel. Changed your mind? A pause. Then that velvet tone. Come to the house.
tomorrow.
We'll talk. All of us. Trap? Maybe. But in revenge's theater, every act's a risk. I agreed, hanging up as thunder rolled, the storm breaking like the dam in my chest. The drive to Ethan's McMansion the next day felt like rolling toward Judgment Day. The Columbia River Gorge a misty blur on my left, all jagged cliffs and hidden falls that whispered of falls from grace. I'd thrown on jeans and a flannel, Oregon armor, my hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, the .38 tucked in my glove box like a forbidden talisman. Not that I'd use it. Portland PD had made damn sure my concealed carry lapsed after the plea. But the weight? It grounded me. A reminder that power wasn't just in words anymore. His place squatted on a manicured lot in the hills. All smart home gadgets and Tesla chargers. The kind of nouveau riche excess that screamed, I made it to anyone still scraping by in a studio. The gate buzzed open at my approach. Biometrics. He'd bragged once, and I parked beside Mom's Prius, the engine ticking cool in the drizzle. They were waiting on the porch, Dad nursing a tumbler of something amber, Mom twisting her pearls, Ethan in chinos and a cashmere sweater, looking every bit the prodigal son returned. Leah, Dad rumbled, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of Old Spice and regret. Let's put this behind us. Behind us, like the widow screams. The courtroom gavel. I patted his back, detaching quick. Sure.
Dad.
Water under the bridge. Inside. The air was cool and sterile. All quartz counters and Sub-Zero, everything. We settled in the great room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the valley like a postcard from hell. Ethan played host.
Pour une Pinot Noir, Oregon's finest.
He'd say, but it tasted like vinegar on my tongue. To family, he toasted, clinking glasses with theatrical flair. Mom echoed it, eyes glassy. Dad grunted approval. I let the silence stretch, sipping slow, until Ethan cracked. Look, Leah, about yesterday. That was heat of the moment. The envelope? Old news. We all made mistakes. Mistakes. Plural. As if my silence was the crime, not his wheel-spinning escape. Mom leaned forward, voice quivering. He's right,
dear.
Ethan's built something here, a legacy. And with your aunt's passing, the estate taxes. They're crippling. If you just sign the quitclaim, we could refinance, set you up with a condo downtown. Something modern.
Modern.
Like Ethan's life. Airbrushed and app-driven. I set my glass down. The clink echoing. A condo. For the house I restored with my own hands? The one Andy left me because she saw through the bullshit. Dad shifted. Uncomfortable. Language.
Leah.
Fuck the language, I snapped. The word detonating like a flare. Mom gasped.
Hand to chest. Ethan?
He just watched. Calculating. That mind of his flipping switches, charmed to menace in a heartbeat. You're bitter, he said softly. I get it. The plea. The time served, it sucked for you. But I paid you back. College tuition. That down payment on your beater Civic. Paid back. The laugh clawed out.
Raw.
You mean the scraps after you siphoned the inheritance? Or the loans that came with interest rates higher than a payday shark? I'd tracked it all, spreadsheets in that encrypted drive. Every Venmo ping. Every bounce check. But they didn't know that.
Not yet.
Dad rubbed his temples. This isn't about money.
Leah.
It's about equity. Your brother took risks, law school, the firm.
You.
Well, you could have done more.
More.
The word landed like a slap. More than owning a design firm that scraped by on indie gigs? More than volunteering at the women's shelter? Counseling girls who'd been through the ringer like me? Ethan jumped in. Smooth as oil. Tell you what. Sign the deed. And I'll cut you in 10% equity in my startup. Could be millions.
Milio.
The lure. Dangled like bait. His startup, a shady app promising anonymous whistleblowing for corporates. But whispers said it was a front for laundering NDAs. I met his gaze. Unflinching. And if I don't, you bury me like you buried her. The room froze. Mom's wine sloshed, staining the rug. Dad's face went ashen. Her, he echoed, voice cracking. Ethan lunged, subtle, but I saw the flex in his jaw. Don't, he warned.
Low.
But the dam was cracking. I pulled the phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over the voice recorder app. The widow. Carla Ruiz. 29. 2 kids. Minivan full of groceries. Ethan behind the wheel. Blood alcohol .12. I confessed to protect him. Your son. Your legacy. And now you want my home to fund his folly. Silence. Thick as fog. Mom whimpered. Leah. No. Dad stared at Ethan. Betrayal dawning slow. But my brother? He flipped. Fast, charm evaporating into ice. Prove it, he snarled. Standing now. Looming. Those files? Fabricated. You're unhinged, the plea proves it. One call to my guys. And you're the villain. Leah. Slandering family for spite. Spite. The accusation stung. Because part of me wondered if he was right. Had the years twisted me? The divorce from Mark, who bailed when the felon labels stuck like tar. The jobs lost to background checks. But no, this was clarity. Not spite. I stood 2 inches from him. The air electric. Call them. But first, explain this. I slid the phone across the coffee table, hitting play. His voice. Tinny but unmistakable, a voicemail from '09. Slurred promise. Leah. I owe you forever. Sis. Won't forget. His face drained of color. Mom sobbed openly now. Dad frozen in shock. Ethan, he whispered. The word a plea. Ethan whirled on them. Flipping again, victim now. Eyes wide with feigned hurt. She's lying. Editing software, anyone can fake it.
Dad.
You know me. I wouldn't, but the seed was planted. Doubt rooting deep. I grabbed my keys. Done with the charade. Sign the paper. Ethan. Or the full tape drops, crash footage, witness affidavits. You're bored. Your investors. The whole Portland scene. At the door, I paused, rain lashing the glass. And tell Mom the truth about the venture capital. It's sturdy money, isn't it? Laundered through that app. His silence was answer enough. I drove away, heart pounding, the gorgeous winds howling like vindication. But victory's a slippery bitch. By evening, my inbox exploded. Lawyers' letters. Mom's voicemails laced with hysteria. How could you? He's your blood.
Blood.
Thicker than water, they say. But mine ran cold now, laced with resolve. That night, holed up in my bungalow, I drafted the exposé, anonymous. For now, titled The Cost of Family Loyalty. Fingers flying over keys. I wove the threads, the crash, the cover-up, the greed now crowning it. But as I hit save, a knock shattered the quiet. Not the door, the window. A shadow. Fleeting, then gone. Paranoia? Or Ethan's first move? I checked the .38. Chamber empty, but loaded with intent. And barred the doors. The game had flipped, but the board was tilting. How far would he go to keep his throne? Days blurred into a tense standoff. Work suffered, clients ghosting after personal issues leaked, courtesy of Ethan's network. No doubt. Mom staged an intervention at my favorite diner. All tears and Bible verses. Dad silent as a tomb. Forgive.
Leah.
Like Jesus.
Forgive.
As if absolution came free.
But Ethan?
He went radio silent, then struck sly. A package arrived, FedEx. No return, containing a single photo, me at 18, court date mugshot. Eyes hollow. Tucked inside, a note. Walk away, or this goes viral. Felon sister. Clever. Flip the narrative, paint me the unstable one. I burned it in the sink, flames licking the evidence, but the ash stuck. Revenge's cost, isolation. Friends distanced, whispers at the co-op. Yet in the quiet, I plodded deeper.
Hired a PI.
Low rent but sharp, to dig into Ethan's app. Results trickled in shell companies, offshore accounts, ties to a Ponzi that had fleeced retirees. The evidence mounted, a digital guillotine. But doubt gnawed. Was I becoming him? Ruthless. Flipping truths like cards? One night, bourbon deep, I called an old cellmate. Rita. Voice rough from smokes. You did right back then, she rasped. Protecting blood.
But now?
Cut the cord.
Girl.
Or it'll choke you. Her words haunted as I prepped for the next confrontation, a mediation at Dad's firm. Neutral ground. Suits and stenographers. The American way of papering over cracks. I arrived early. .38 left home. Trust the process, they said. But as I signed in, Ethan's fixer slunk by, murmuring, careful, Ennis. Hargrove. Loose lips sink ships. Ships. Like the one Carla Ruiz boarded that night. Groceries for kids who'd never taste her tamales again. I straightened, chin up. The room filled, lawyers droning. Mom dabbing eyes. Dad avoiding mine. Ethan entered last. entourage in tow, that grin a blade. Let's settle, his counsel started.
Seeding papers, 내 idea.
Equity buyout. Gag order. Sign. And vanish. I scanned it. Pen poised. Heart hammering. Sign. And bury the dead again.
Or.
No, I said, voice steady. But I'll counter. I slid my own folder across, printouts of the app's ledgers. Red flags glaring. Expose this. And the crash stays buried. Fair trade. Ethan's laugh was bark. Extortion. But his eyes darted. Fear. Real this time. The mediator cleared throat. MS.
Hargrove.
This is justice. I cut in. Mom gasped. Dad finally spoke. Enough. Ethan, tell me it's not true.
Flip.
Ethan's mask slipped, venom spilling. It's business.
Dad.
Risk. Reward. Leah's the one dredging corpses for a grudge.
Grudge.
The word ignited. I stood, chair scraping. Grudge? For the life you stole? The home you're circling like a hyena? Chaos erupted, shouts. Mom fainting into smelling salts. In the melee, Ethan's fixer slipped me a USB. Insurance, he winked. Later, alone, I plugged it in more dirt. But on me, affidavits swearing I'd coerced the plea. Double cross. He'd flipped again, arming himself with my sins. But as rain lashed my windows that night, I smiled. Because the USB held gold too, his confession, recorded drunk dial years back. The script was mine now. Or so I thought. Winter clamped down on Portland like a vice. November's chill seeping through cracks I'd never noticed before, turning my bungalow into a drafty tomb of what-ifs. The mediation had bought me time, a temporary injunction freezing the deed transfer, but Ethan's counterpunch lingered. That USB a Pandora's box of mutual destruction. I pored over it nightly, bourbon my vigil candle, parsing the files, his slurred admission buried under layers of my own crimes. Coercion? They'd twisted it, painting me the puppeteer when I'd been the pawn. Work was a ghost ship now. Gigs drying up as rumors swirled, LinkedIn whispers of instability, clients citing fit issues. I freelanced harder, churning logos for craft breweries and indie bands, but the screen blurred with fatigue. Sleep? A luxury for the innocent. Nightmares replayed the crash, tires screaming. Carla's face in the rearview, imagined, but vivid, her last breath fogging the glass. Mom called daily. Scripts varying. Guilt trips Mondays. Scripture Tuesdays. Silence Wednesdays when Dad commandeered the line for gruff, fix this ultimatums. He's your brother.
Leah.
Blood.
Blood.
The mantra that had chained me since high school. When Ethan's petty thefts became my detentions, his smokes my groundings. Pattern recognized too late. But the PI's leads heated up. A bonfire in the cold. Ethan's app, WhistleSafe, wasn't just shady. It was a sieve, funneling tips to hackers who extorted core instead of exposing them. Retirees in Eugene, suckered into investments, now facing ruin. One widow, irony's cruel joke, mirrored Carla, kids in college, house foreclosed. I reached out anonymously, email chains weaving a web. Her name was Vivian, voice cracking over burner phone. He promised security. Took everything. We met in a dive off Burnside. Neon buzzing, open like a dare. She was steel gray hair and sharp eyes, nursing a gin and tonic that could have stripped varnish. Ethan Hargrove, she spat, sliding a thumb drive.
Proof.
Emails. Transfers. But go public? They'll bury me. Not you, I said.
Pocketing it.
Us. Solidarity. The kind I'd craved in county, where walls echoed with stories like mine. We plotted loose, leaks to tech blogs,
Tips to the SEC.
but as we parted, her grip on my arm tightened. Be careful.
Girl.
Wolves hunt in packs. Wolves.
Fitting.
Ethan's pack circled tighter. Spam calls at 3 a.m. Mailbox stuffed with final notices for taxes I didn't know. Harassment. Textbook. I lawyered up proper, pro bono from a shelter contact, a firebrand named Jax who'd sued Portland PD for fun. You've got leverage, he grinned over Zoom. Bowtie askew. But flip it smart. No vigilante shit.
Smart.
As if revenge played by rules. That weekend, I drove to the coast. Cannon beaches, waves, a thunderous therapy. Haystack rock looming like a sentinel. Salt air scoured the doubt. And I texted Ethan. Truce dinner. My place. Neutral. His reply. 7 p.m. Bring appetite. Appetite for what? Poison. Or peace. I prepped anyway. Lasagna from Auntie's recipe. Salad crisp. Wine decanted. The .38 stayed locked. But the USBs? Arrayed in my office like ammo. He arrived alone. Fashionably late. Bearing a bottle of Napa Cab. Peace offering. Or prop. Smells amazing, he said, shrugging off his wool coat. The one from Nordstrom Rack, but tailored to lie. We ate in the kitchen. Banter light at first. Old jokes about Dad's golf swings. Mom's Jell-O salads. Facade cracking under wine's warmth. Then.
Pivot.
Leah, he started. Fork pausing mid-bite. I get the anger. The crash. I was young. Stupid. But you chose the plea. Hero move.
Hero.
The word curdled the pasta. Chose? To save your ass from prison stripes. And now? You're circling my home like it's your due. He leaned back, flipping to contrite, eyes downcast, voice soft.
Fair.
But the house, it's not greed. Dad's sick. Early dementia. Needs care. Your aunt's equity could fund it.
Sick.
The bomb dropped casual. But it landed.
Dementia?
Mom hadn't breathed a word. Liar, I whispered. But doubt wormed in. Ethan produced his phone. Photos. Dad at a doctor's. Charts scribbled with cognitive decline. Real? Or deep fake deep? Check with Jax, he urged. But sign. And it's handled. No more digging.
Digging.
Into his app. The Ponzi? I stalled. Clearing plates. Mind racing. In the living room. Fire low. He pressed. Family?
Leah.
Or are you done with that? The hook. Baited with blood. I fetched the wine. Stalling. But as I turned, he was there, too close. Hand on my wrist. Stop this, he murmured. Grip iron. For all of us. Panic flared. Old instincts from county brawls. I twisted free. Coffee table scattering coasters. Get out. He didn't. Flipped again, rage now. Face twisting. Ungrateful bitch. I built this for us. You? Wasted potential. Wallowing in victimhood. Victimhood. The accusation burned. Because nights I'd wondered. Was I? Or forged in fire? He lunged for the office door, my files exposed. I blocked, shoving hard. Don't. Scuffle brief. Brutal, his weight pinning, my knee connecting low. He gasped, doubling, and I scrambled up, grabbing the nearest weapon, Auntie's old letter opener, silver and sharp. Out, I panted, blade glinting. He straightened, wheezing, eyes feral. This isn't over. Door slammed, tires squealed into night. Alone, shaking, I called Jax, confirmed, Dad's diagnosis real. Hidden by Mom's denial. Guilt gnawed, but Ethan's ploy, transparent. The wrist bruise bloomed purple, a map of fractures. Vivian texted, leak ready? I hesitated. Then tomorrow. The drop hit wired at dawn, a whistleblower piece. Tech Darling's dark underbelly, sourcing anonymous but ironclad. By noon, Ethan's stock tanked, board scrambling. His calls flooded, fury. Then please. You destroyed me, destroyed. Echo of Carla's life. I blocked him, but the backlash hit. Trolls doxing my address. Felon fraud, hashtags trending local. Safe?
No.
But alive, electrified. Mom showed unannounced, face haggard. Ethan's suicidal, she sobbed, collapsing on my stoop.
Lie?
Or truth's flip. I pulled her in, stepping. Listening as she spilled. The app's debts. Dad's treatments. Ethan's desperation. Help him, she begged. Help. The cycle siren. But as she clutched my hands, I saw it, her complicity, bearing the crash like dirty laundry. No more, I said gentle. Not without truth. She left crying, and I fortified, cameras installed, PI on speed dial. Climax brewed. Storm clouds massing. Ethan's next move? A summons, emergency family meeting at the firm. Final chance, his text read. Chance for what? Surrender? Or slaughter? I went armed with more than steel, Vivian's affidavit.
SC feeling.
The full crash tape. The conference room reeked of stale coffee and steaks. Lawyers flanking like sentries. Dad at head. Frail now. Eyes pleading. Mom beside.
Wrecked.
Ethan across. Cuffed in defeat? No, poised. A cobra coiled. Let's end this, Dad croaked. But Ethan spoke first. Voice steel. Leah wins. House stays. App folds.
Concession?
Too easy. Then the twist, his counsel slid docs forged. Jax later confirmed, claiming I'd embezzled from Auntie's estate. Petty cash, Ethan sneered. But enough for fraud charges. Drop the dirt. Or we prosecute. Flip. My sins weaponized. Room spun. Betrayals vertigo. Dad gasped.
So.
Mom wailed. I stood. Voice thunder. Prove it. But inside, cracking. As signatures loomed, his NDA for my confession, I hit play on the hidden recorder. Ethan's voicemail booming. I killed her. Leah. Forgive me. Gasps rippled. His face crumbled. Facade shattering. You bastard, Dad whispered, disowning in that breath. Mom fainted. Chaos. Cops called?
No.
Ethan's fixer bolting. Bored online screaming. He lunged across table. Hands at my throat, brief. Feral. You'll pay. Security hauled him. screaming epithets. I collapsed,
gasping.
victory's ash. But as blue lights flashed outside, Jax called, trap sprung. His forgeries?
Bait.
Real charge. App's RICO ties. Feds incoming. Relief? Or Pyrrhic? Ethan cuffed. Howling betrayal.
Me, free, but scarred.
The house stood, but family? Shattered mosaic. December's solstice shadows stretched long across the courthouse steps. Portland's federal building a monolith of marble and Miranda rights, where justice wore a blindfold but saw everything eventually. Snow dusted the ground, rare for here. A gritty slush that crunched under my boots like brittle bones. I'd traded flannel for a wool coat, the one anti-knit. Its cables a lifeline as I faced the gauntlet, reporters clustered like flies. Mics thrusting. Questions barbed. MS. Hargrove. Did you orchestrate your brother's downfall? Orchestrate. As if revenge was a symphony, not a scream.
Inside.
The arraignment was theater. Ethan in orange. Shackled. That grin replaced by hollow cheeks and darting eyes. RICO charges. Racketeering. Fraud. The app a web snaring dozens. His Ponzi? Exposed. Victims queuing for restitution. Carla's kids among them. I'd insured. Anonymous fund for my savings. Small but sincere. Dad didn't attend. Dementia's fog had thickened. Mom tending him in a memory care unit I quietly funded. No thanks. Just silence, a chasm wider than the Willamette. Ethan pleaded not guilty. Voice cracking on manipulation, eyes locking mine across the gallery. Accusation? Plea? The flip eternal. Even in chains. Post-hearing, Jax clapped my shoulder in the hall.
Clean win.
Leah. House secure. Civil suits pending. You flipped it. Flipped. The word echoed. A refrain. But as I emerged to flashbulbs, a figure waited. Vivian. Arm in arm with her daughter. A teen with Carla's eyes, dark. Resilient. We read about the crash, she said soft. No judgment. Thank you. For speaking her name. Speaking. The act that had unchained me. But at what cost? I nodded, throat tight, and drove home through flurries, radio murmuring indictments. The bungalow welcomed with warmth, fire roaring, lasagna reheating from last week's batch. Solitude's embrace. Hard one. But as I ate, phone buzzed, unknown number. Voicemail played Ethan's voice. Tinny from Cook County, wait. No. Multnomah?
Leah.
I get it now. The wait. Forgive?
No.
But understand, I was scared. Still am. Don't let it eat you. Understand. Too late for that. I deleted it, but the echo lingered, stirring the twist I'd buried deep. My own flip. Years back. The plea? Not just protection. I'd driven that night, post-prom, buzzed myself, handing keys to Ethan in a haze. His swerve, mine too, shared sin. I'd confessed alone to sever ties, but guilt's half-life rotted slow. Twist, no heroes here. I'd borne his crime, but sown the seed. Revenge? Catharsis, laced with poison. Readers, if this leaked, would split. Was I avenger or accomplice? Saint or sinner? The debates spark. Controversies fuel. Spring thawed the city. Garden blooming defiant, tomatoes fat, basil rampant. I relaunched the firm.
Client trickling, brewery.
Bands. A non-profit for crash victims. Dates.
Tentative.
A barista with tattoos and trust issues. Life's rhythm returning. Jagged but real. Mom visited once. Frail in the doorway. Dad's ring glinting. He writes, she said. Envelope clutched. Asks forgiveness. I took it. Unopened. Tell him mine's conditional. On truth to you. To them. She left. And I burned the letter, flames dancing. Secrets ash. The .38?
Pond.
Its weight lifted. But nights. When rain drums. I wonder, did I flip the script? Or just rewrite the cage? Ethan's trial loomed summer, spectacle. Appeals pending. Victims testified. Vivian Steele. Carla's kids' quiet fury. His flips? Denials. Tears. Blame shifting to advisors. Jury split. Hung once. Then guilty, 20 years. Minimum. No eye contact as they led him away. But his whisper carried. We're even. Sis. Even. The lie we tell survivors. I walked free. House mine. But the cost? A family fractured. Mirror cracked with my reflection. Happy ending?
For some.
Tragic? For the ghosts. You decide. As for me, Leah Hargrove, no more scapegoat. I garden. Design.
Live.
Revenge's aftertaste? Bitter. But clarifying. In America's grind, hustle, betray, redeem, I've carved my plot. Fertile ground. Finally. And if the wolves howl?
Let them.
I've got the .38's echo, loaded with truth. Forever.